If he rolls 400, he wins, and if he doesn't, he doesn't.
Yeah, and he's been rolling those 400s at quite consistent the last few weeks, and last week was just unbelievable. And this week, John Levey, he's got a tough opponent, and John, that was his first appearance on TV, so he'll have a few jitters. Very important for him to get that first few marks under his belt, relax him.
All right, let's get a look at both of our bowlers. First of all, our challengers today are number 4 seed in this particular ladder series, John Levey from Andover, Massachusetts.
He carries 117 average, which is one of the lower averages we've had on the show. But we found out in shows ago that average means nothing in a 3-string match.
And of course, John, as we mentioned, making his first appearance on the program. For Steve Vadney, altogether, this will be his 7th appearance on Stars and Strikes. He has a record of 4-2, and in all 4 of those wins, he's thrown 400, including, as Dan mentioned, the last 2 weeks in a row. Of course, last week, coming back to defend his ladder championship, all he did was roll a 431.
Yeah, he was unbelievable last week, and well, the difference in the match, he had threw a lot of strikes, and he happened to throw 2 double strikes, which we talked after the match, and that was enough to give him the win, those 2 double strikes. So he's going to be tough.
He almost threw another strike in the warm-up, so I guess he's ready. We'll have the match, first string of 3, plus more details on our home contest and how maybe you at home could win some money, too, here on Stars and Strikes. All of that after these messages. Don't go away. Ladder championship 2 weeks ago, and then last week began the defense of his title with a win over Rod Jarvis, 431 to 404. And now this week, our number 4 seed, John Levey, is the opponent, and John is set to get us started on lane 32 for this week's match. John up from Andover, Massachusetts, not too far from here. And starts with a very convincing spare.
I mentioned at the beginning of the show, that's what John has to do. First time in front of the cameras and lights, it's a little nerve-wracking. Get that first couple marks in front of you, that helps. Look at this.
How about that?
Little help, John, little help.
He'll shoot at the 7 and 8, but he'll have to wait for that wood to settle down.
Johnny, go get it. Make up your mind and throw it.
He's going to have to play the wood in front of the 8. And, well, let's see where it finally settles down. Looks to me he's going to have to come high. He's going to have to come off the left sidewall.
Oh, yes, with the ball.
That's quite a start. He threw a spare. It looked like he's only going to get 3 on the spare and got an 8-pin drop. Here, he looked like he hit the shot. It should have came off the wall. Didn't. Ball came back. Another spare. Spare 8, spare for John.
And now our defending champion, Steve Vadney from Claremont.
1, 5, and 9. Punched out the middle.
And again. Steve starting off with a tough 6-box. And now he'll shoot at the 5, 7, 10 with wood. 5, 6, 10 rather with wood. 5, 7, 10 he wouldn't want to shoot at, I'm sure.
With or without wood.
Spare for Steve in the second.
A nice shot. Carrying the ball off that wood, carried the 5, the wood went into the 6 and 10. Spare for Steve.
Hey, Johnny, run it, Johnny.
And the 7-pin will stay.
Grab 10. Right back. Johnny, I'll throw 10.
Lane 31 for John.
He leaves himself to 4, 5, 7. 2 ways here. You could go far right and sweep that wood across, or you could push the piece of wood out in front back. I think I'd go right.
Takes it straight on and spares it up in the 4th.
I would have went right, ended up with a 9-box. He goes straight and gets a spare. Steve looking to fill the spare.
10.
Last week, you know, this game can bite you. One day to the next, you don't know. We tape a lot of shows in a day. Last week, he was getting away with those full hits. So far today, he's chopped out the 1, 5, and 9, and this time spread eagle.
No, he's really going to have to escape here with the third ball. And he'll take an 8. And he trails by 13 after 3. Steve was trailing most of the show last week. Came back and won it in the third.
It's amazing. At one time, he was 30 pins behind in that first game. Ended up with a double strike and 3 spares the last 5 boxes to pull within 1, and ended up winning the match by 27, I believe, but it was a lot closer than that, as if you caught the match last week. It wasn't decided until the last 3 boxes. John's got the early lead here, 14 plus the fill on the spare.
Triangle.
3, 5, and 6.
No problem there.
Did I say he's never been on TV before? Well, he's certainly bowling like he's a veteran. 68.5 plus a fill.
Look at the big strike on top of it.
Fantastic start for John Levey. Light hit this time. Good sidewall action. 2 pin. Last one to go for the strike. 78.5. 88 and a 6 plus 2 balls. Fine start for John.
Steve Vadney.
Steve, the veteran he is, he doesn't get rattled too much. He understands that this is all offense. All you gotta do is keep fighting. Try to get a mark here, mark there, and stay in the match. But right now, he's quite a few behind.
This is almost exactly what happened last week at the start, and Steve strikes it on spare. So the difference 21, both bowlers with strikes up in the 6th. John Levey. And again, 4-5-7.
4-5-7 again. Now it's a different one here now. It's got a piece of wood on an angle near the 5, and I might play that one. I think, yeah, that's what he's going to try to do. Off the wall. I don't think this wood here in front of the 4 and 7 would have helped him that much. No.
107 through 7. 106 through 7, rather. Just pay attention to what Carol Downey is doing. She has the right score.
John, his delivery is very unique. He almost takes a little stutter step before he actually starts his approach. And then he walks to the left hand. Oh, what a shot. What a shot.
1, 7, 8, 10. Another time.
Beautiful shot. And then he walks on his approach. He walks to the left-hand part of the approach, ends up the left-hand part of the foul line, and releases it to the right. Unique, but it's working.
And Steve Vadney just trips out the 6 pin, leaving him a 7 for the spare.
And it would be a spare on strike. Oh, no.
And it will not happen.
The game of candlepins. Everyone at home saying, I wish I could shoot at that. Well, not always. It doesn't always look as easy as it is or as hard as it looks. Difficult shot when you got the piece of wood way out in front like that. So instead of being less than 20 behind, he's 20 down, opposite a spare.
And not with a very pleasant leave. Steve will take an 8. John Levey coming up for his final 2. Sliding left on the spare, just a 4. but he has 6 marks in this first string already.
4, and looks like a 26-pin lead.
$129 with 1 to go. Sliding right for the half Worcester.
3-9, jumping out the 3-9 on the right, half Worcester.
Going for all of them, and he'll take a 7 box. But a 136 start for John Levey, 19 pins over his average. Steve Vadney now trying to cut into a 26-pin lead.
He's opposite a 9 and a 7, last 2 by John. Four, 7. Again, it looks like he should cover it, but we have another piece of wood in the back there. Careful of the 7-pin.
Yes. Barely.
The other piece of wood, the second piece of wood, actually stopped the first piece from flying back and carrying the 7 clean. Thought it was going to stand up there for a minute. Chance to cut into that deficit. A thin hit, 4.
Looking for a conversion, and it'll be the head pin still there. Well, Steve is going to find himself trailing again. A 118 for Steve Vadney up against John Levey's 136, and it's an 18-pin difference. After 1, we'll be back with more after these messages. Don't go away. Strikes, and you at home can win some money too. Our home jackpot is up to $50 this week. It goes up $10 a week. At the end of each show, we have our winning bowler throw 1 ball, and then we draw a postcard. If the number on the postcard matches the number of pins that drop, the person with the postcard wins the cash, and we're up to $50 this week. So send the postcards in, please, and only 1 per person per week, if you please. Send your name, your address, and a number from 1 to 10, all important, and send it into contest, Sandy's Bowling Lanes, Route 28, Windham, New Hampshire, 03087. And again, the jackpot will be worth $50 at the end of today's show. Right now, string number 2, and Steve Vadney, our defending champion, trails by 18. Oh, but he won't for long if he keeps throwing them like that. His 2nd strike of the match.
This time in the 1-2 pocket. Remember, his ball backs up a little bit, breaks from left to right. That looks like the identical type of ball that he threw the first box, and this time he's 5, 8, and 10. The 5 can be cut into the 10. Just missed.
$27 pair for Steve to start this middle string. And now our challenger, John Levey, who got off to a very fast start in that first string, wound up with a 136. And this will be the 7, 9, 10. And it could be interesting, depending on what the wood finally does.
Well, it looks to me like you'd have to try to cap that piece of wood in between the 9 and the 10. Now he's going way too low.
Hoping for a deflection on the ball and didn't get it.
John looking for his first mark this second game. Quarter.
178 this time. And we're going to have that piece of wood down there checked out by Carol Downey to make sure it is legally in play.
Gives a 189 down there. It's real close.
And it is not. That'll help him somewhat, although it might not have come into play anyway. If any part of the deadwood is touching the deadwood line, it has to be removed, and John just missed the head pin. And again, he'll take an $8.
So Steve has cut the lead in half.
Big ball leaving the 7-pin.
7-pin, shouldn't be any problem. Hits that wood out in front.
Spare for Steve, his 6th mark of the match. Each bowler with 6 now. Steve is from Claremont, New Hampshire. Makes quite a drive to get here. It's been worth his while so far.
So far it has. 3, 5, 6, and 9 diamond with a piece of wood in between. Always a help. Wants to stay away from that other piece. And oh boy.
Steve and his wife Annette have a daughter Jennifer and a son Stevie. Steve works at Sturm Ruger in Newport, and he'll take a 10 in the 4th. Challenger John Levey with the big one.
Just barely touched the head pin that time. Nice light hit. We got a lot of action off those pins. Just touches the head pin. Comes back to trip the 3. A much needed strike.
Full this time, and let's wait.
Well, it's hard to tell from this angle, but it looks like if he plays that wood, it could carry the 2 and maybe into the 3, 6, and 10. Let's see. Oh, he misses it altogether for a 6, Phil. Now we'll see if he's a gambler or not. Take the 3 or try the wood again.
Ooh.
Same ball as last time.
And that'll be a tough 6 for John Levey, and a pause in the action right here. Steve Vadney has taken 13 pins off of John's lead. John Levey with a 5-pin lead right now, and we're back with more action here on Stars and Strikes after these messages. Fifth. String number 2.
Oh, full hit again, and leaves himself the 3, 6, 10 for the spare. Not a bad break. Going a little full on the head pin that time. Oh, the wood actually killed the shot. Wood in the back made that 3-pin fly right to the sidewall and around the 6 and a 10. And also deflected the ball.
$10 for Steve. Winner of this show comes back next week to take on our number 3 seed Jack Ray.
Again, good looking ball, and this is the second time he's had this lead. 5, 8, and 10. Trying to split the 5 and the 8 and have the 5 jump over into the 10.
A couple of open frames for Steve.
A little opening for John.
And John can be thankful that was not on a spare.
Yeah, just held on to the ball a little too long, pulled it to the left. That's a little better.
John's going to wait for that wood because he may have a shot at both of these. It'll be a 9 anyway. The lead right now is 4 for John. He had 18 coming in. Beautiful pocket hit that time, and the 4-pin slid, but there was no way it was going to stay up.
Oh, a dynamite ball that was. About the best ball John's thrown the whole match, and he's had some other strikes, but good-looking ball. And again, he was opposite an 8 box, so a chance to increase that lead a little bit. Well, got a break there when that 7-pin went down, even though it was a good-looking ball going in. 6-10 for the spare.
Got it. That's mark number 7 for Steve Vadney. Steve originally made it here to the program with a 7-10 roll-off.
Look at this. Look at this. 4-5. But it's makeable. Inside of the 5, clip the 5 in the wood, or go way left and jump the 4 into it.
Got it. Yes.
Nice shot.
That was a nice shot. And 2 very important spares for Steve Vadney.
5-pin in the wood at the same time, kicks over, carries the 4. Nice shot by Steve Vadney.
John Levey now working on a strike, pulling it left. And he'll take a 6-fill on the strike. That's his second 6-fill on a strike this string.
Oh, another 6 box. Well, gotta stay away from those bad boxes, especially against a guy like Steve Vadney. And that evens the matchup. Box is completed now. John's opposite a spare by Steve Vadney.
John works at the Candlewood Lanes in North Reading, which is where he bowls out of course.
Oh, no luck there. Good head. Cluster 5 in the corner. 3, 5, 6, 9, and 10. Cleared out to 3, 5, and 10. 3, 5, 6, and 10. Left to 9.
Well, whatever Steve Vadney gets on this fill will be his lead. And it's 9.
When he gets into a groove, there's no stopping him. Ball backs up just a little bit, hits the pocket. Good action with his ball.
And right on the single pin for his 3rd spare in a row. Steve bouncing back from a disappointing 118 first string.
Be 1 9-pin drop.
Steve averages 128. And he's going to be well over that this string, as he is now 137 plus a ball, finishing up with 4 marks in a row.
.137 plus this ball. Then hit with a 4.
So 141 for Steve Vadney and a 259 total for 2. John's still having problems pulling it left. Good attempt at it, but the 4-7 are still there. John really needs a mark in this last box.
Yeah, he's opposite a spare 4. It would be nice to get a spare himself. Add into that lead a little bit. He's throwing a good ball. Pins aren't mixing as well as they did the first game for him. Again, that cluster of 5, 3, 5, 6, 9, and 10.
A 9 box for John Levey, and things have turned around here in string number 2. The totals will go up. Steve Vadney with a 259. And John Levey with a 2-string total 235. Steve Vadney with a 24-pin advantage with 1 string to go, and we'll be back with that 1 string right after we have these messages. has that to cope with as we start the third string. And that has really been the problem for John over this last string or so. Been pulling the ball left. That time he got a pretty good break.
Yeah, leads himself to 1-3-9. You're absolutely right, Doug. It seemed like after the first game he started really pulling the ball. And not getting a heck of a lot of luck either. It wasn't too bad. He was just a hair full and left the 3-pin.
And it's still there.
But Steve Vadney is not the person you want to be 24 pins behind going with one string to go.
Well, the story right now, at least, is told in the last 4 boxes of that second string. Over those last 4 boxes, Steve Vadney had 4 marks in a row and picked up 70 pins. John Levey had just 34.
Oh, that's another example. He hit that shot just a little full, 1/4 of an inch either way, would have had the spare. No luck, John.
10 and a 19 start. There's still time, though.
Oh, yeah, there's time. It's interesting. You noted that, Doug. He only had a 6-pin lead in that second string, Steve did, so he was still 12 pins behind. And he ended up spare 8, spare 9, spare 9, spare 4. So we went from 12 down to 24 ahead. 4 horsemen, 1, 2, 4, and 7.
And the 2 stays. Runner-up in today's show will receive a check for $50 and a runner-up plaque from the N&R Trophy Company of Winchendon. N&R Trophy, also the fine folks who provide us with the TV50 NHCBA desk pens, which are the consolation prizes for those of you who have your postcards drawn in our home contest and do not win the jackpot. A spare in the second for Steve Vadney on that tough shot.
That cluster of 5 in the corner, we've been getting those quite a bit in this match, and Steve finally is able to conquer it for the spare.
And a real break there for John.
Yep.
And I don't think even he can believe that one.
He actually pulled the ball way left, hit the 4-7, left the 1, 6, and 10 for the spare, and looks good.
Well, you have to take advantage of those. That's the key.
That's exactly right. Plays inside of the head pin, ball goes down, clears out the 6 and the 10. Able to take advantage of the break.
A little full, it'll be an 8 drop, and there may be some possibilities here. We'll see what the wood does. That was John's first spare since the first string. The only 2 marks he had in the second string were strikes.
Here it looks like he hits the 6 pin or catches a piece of the wood and the 6. Might be able to carry the 2. No, he's up high. He's going to get it, though.
Yep. Just like you said.
There's 2 ways to make it. My way and the right way, I guess. Off the wall comes the wood for the spare. And more important, he needed that.
Steve Vadney on a spare, and let's wait. It'll be an 8.
1 and the 4 left. I think he probably would prefer if that one stayed up. Doesn't make the shot any easier without the 2-pin in there. Either side of the head pin, ball is either going to go down and carry the 4 or the head pin go down itself. And
full. Steve now leads by 25, but he is opposite that spare by John Levey in the 4th. Kicking out an extra pin or 2, and that sets up the spare leave.
6-10. Glad to see that 4-pin go down.
And he chopped it off.
Pin picking time. Just picked the 6-pin out, and ball never deflected to carry the 10.
And it is a 10 box, so we will pause for a message here and check the scoreboard. Steve Vadney at 48 through 4, and John Levey, when we come back, will be cutting into that lead He'll be trailing by 25 when we come back. Don't go away. John Levey is working on a spare here in the fourth, string number 3. And whatever he gets will cut into the lead.
Drop that ball a little bit, didn't get the ball out in the lane. Leaves himself to 1, 3, 4, and 7. Looks good. Looks good.
There's a shot.
Oh, he's made some fantastic shots going down the stretch here. Plays it on the inside. Ball goes down, carries the 4, and the 4 carries the 7.
Well, you get a couple of breaks, and now he's strung 3 marks in a row, but no break that time. It'll be a 3 fill.
Now he went way right and removed 6, 9, and 10 for 3. That's the ball he wanted. Hasn't made many mistakes, but it seems like when he makes a mistake, it's a costly one, like the fill on a spare.
75 through 6 for John. Right now he trails by 19. But he's left a bit of an opening here for Steve Vadney.
And that was an important mark there. The only a 3 fill. If he could have got 7 or 8, 9 on that one and got another one, that would give Steve really something to think about.
Good $10 for Steve Vadney. The lead is now 16. And a spare leave. Well, maybe. Let's wait.
He wants that piece of wood to stay away from that 3-pin. It might end up being a roadblock here. He can still see it. He can still see a piece of the pin. Plays it low enough, will carry it. Nice, going right in the cap. Tough shot, nice shot.
That could be a very critical spare because that's going to put the lead over 20 in the 6th box.
John's going to have to mark out and hope Steve gets a low fill on that spare and doesn't get any more marks on the way out. This is almost a must shot right here.
Plus, John is obviously at the disadvantage in this particular case of having to roll first and hope that it's enough.
Well, he's going to have to mark here and set up the last 2 boxes. Not mathematically out of it, but
just has not been on target often enough. And a $7 for John. He's struggling. Got a couple of breaks earlier in this string. Was able to string those 3 spares in a row.
Yeah, he was 24 down. I mean, he didn't just cash it in, figure the match was over. He came back at Steve. Right now, it doesn't look good. But we've seen people throwing double strikes to win matches. It's not over until it's over. Look at this. Wow. Played the 6-10, piece of wood in front of the 6-10 and slid it right across and split the 4-7. Never carried either one of them. Fine try by Steve Vadney.
Through 7, Steve trails by 1 in this string, but has a 23-pin advantage overall. Looks like Steve's 400 sequence is over. If he should go on to win this match and be under 400, it'd be the first time in his 7 appearances on the show that he'd thrown less than 401. .26 is the lead.
26 means double strikes. It means at least a double. I gave it a great try. Well, still mathematically possible. He picks this up and then throws a double in the last box or a triple.
Not going to go for him. Yes.
Oh, nice out.
That should go, and it does. John working on the last box now. And that will do it. A 10 and a 1-11 for John Levey, and a 3-string total 346. So Steve Vadney will win his 3rd in a row here. And he'll be back for another try. Next week, it'll be Jack Ray coming in. And the story of the match, as we mentioned earlier, Dan, those last 4 boxes in the 2nd string.
That's what it came down to. We went from 12, Steve Vadney went from 12 pins down to finish to be 24 ahead. He was able to hang on this last game. But in defense of John, first time on a TV show, bowled well, made a few mistakes which cost him, but his overall performance, I'd have to say, did pretty well.
A 9 for Steve and a 112. And the totals will go up on the board. Steve Vadney with a 371 wins it over John Levey's 346. We'll be back to talk to both bowlers and see if we can't give one of you $50 in our home jackpot right after these messages.